Okay. You ready, or you want to finish up? Whatever you're doing.
I can do it while I'm doing this.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Just putting in grades.
Do you have a lot of grades to put in?
No.
Not since Alex, right?
Yeah, but I will starting this unit because problem set starts.
Do you already have a problem set in mind? You created one?
No, I can create one pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it gonna take a long time?
No.
Okay. Do you want to just like wait like a couple minutes then?
Sure. I mean, I'm just going through this.
Just let me know when you're ready.
Okay.
You have any plans for the weekend?
Weekend. This weekend is the 3rd and 4th. Probably not. Just play some volleyball. Play some tennis. And then, and TPA stuff. Gosh.
Tony's working on her TPA 4. Is that where you guys are at, or you guys are at
No,
TPA 3?
We're doing TPA. Ours is different.
Huh. She's doing the NTPA though, too. She just turned in her TPA 3 this past January, like the first week of January.
Well, ours is kind of it's like structured differently. So we had we did TPA 1.
That was like
last
in the fall.
semester.
Yeah.
And then now we're just doing something that's different. It's not like TPA 2, 3, or 4. It's like task 1, 2, 3. Ours is different.
Okay, so you guys are not doing the 4 different parts.
It's different. It's like we have parts, but it's not. I mean, it's like the same, like portion, like in terms of like assessment, and then
designing instruction for differentiating, right?
No, it's different. Like
okay.
So it's not like I know like for them it's like differentiating for a SPED, differentiating for EL. It's
exactly.
not like that for us. It's completely different. And I think it's because we're in the early program.
Oh, the ECO, early completion program?
Yeah, so we have a completely different set of TPAs. It's different. Yeah, because I was like trying to like cross this with like, you know what Amato was doing like last semester.
Yeah, because Amato was doing it too.
Yeah, and then it was,
oh, you guys were working on it together?
No. I was just because we were like working on it, and so we were just like I was like trying to see like what he's up to and things like that, and I was like.
Was it even formatted differently too?
Yeah, it's so different. It's entirely different.
When is your next one due?
Well, we have task 1, 2, and 3. and those 3 tasks are all due at the end of March. But we're pacing with our professors pacing us so that we're not too behind. And so this week we have to finish our 3 to 5 lesson plans on one standard, just the lesson plan. And then next week is going to be analysis of why we chose to do certain things in our lesson plan. So like what was our like instructional strategies, like why did we choose it, do you have evidence for why you did this, blah 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 blah, are you differentiating for your diverse background of students, and so forth. So that's
so yours is actually due sooner than Tony's and Amato's, because Tony and Amato's, their last TPA 4 is due mid-April.
Yeah, it's
and
a
then from you guys,
thing.
It's due March.
Yeah, it's a completely different thing. Yeah.
Do you know how you did on your previous one?
Oh yeah, I may have passed.
That's good.
I mean, I barely put work in it.
I know. I remember you telling me, oh my god, I haven't started my TPA.
I basically did it like the day before, a little bit the night before, and then on the day of, and I passed. So I was like, oh, that's Gucci.
Okay. Well, aside from volleyball and working on your TPA, have you started on your cooking self-care goal?
Well, not like extensively cooking, but I just bought like noodles and sauce, and I'm just like putting those things together, because I realized if I actually want to cook, that's going to take a lot of time, and at the moment I don't have that. And so, starting small, with just even like instant, like just literally cooking pasta and putting the sauce together.
Well, it's like me. I have like Spam and rice.
Well, no, you have your salads now.
I know. Today I don't have a salad. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't decided what I'm going to eat yet. Yeah. Well, today we're going to spend some time debriefing yesterday's observation from Period 6. And I know the last time we were talking, you wanted to move up in terms of your growth goals for this year from in Domain 2 for creating a classroom culture of respect and learning. So hopefully, I think like from what I saw from Will's evaluation from last semester, you were at a 2, and then hopefully to get you to a 3. And do you want to add anything for the agenda today? No? Okay, cool. Well, based on the observation from yesterday, how do you feel like your lesson went?
Oh, good. I mean, you came towards the end.
Yeah, I came the last 20 minutes.
Yeah. And then kids were mostly on task. Obviously, there were like moments where like 1 or 2 students would be off task for a little bit, and then they would get on task. The classroom losing points has been working really well.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to actually see that happen, or like you like implement it, because.
Oh, they already had negative points during the lecture portion, and then they gained some back because they were behaving well, and they had the last -5 points up there that I wanted to like see if I would increase or decrease that depending on how well they behaved during the work time. And then because they were on task for the most part and they actually were doing their work, I took that off at the end. Yeah. So you came in during when it was at -5 points, and it was on the board. Yeah.
I came in so it was -5 points, and then do you think that that's why they were behaving?
Yeah. And
then they were on task, like working on Alex?
Yeah, it's also because like they don't want to be the one causing other people to lose points. Yeah. It's like it's because of their action that the entire class is losing points, and so.
So there's like group accountability there.
Yeah. So Jose hasn't been acting up at all.
I saw that he was working on his Alex the entire time.
He hasn't been acting up at all for the past 2 weeks, which is kind of crazy, which is kind of scary. I don't know what the heck is going on, but it's been good. Which means if Jose doesn't act up, Kevin doesn't act up. So Kevin has been fine, although like he has gaps in knowledge that he needs to fill. But in terms of behavior, it's been really good. Che, there's always small things with Che. Like he actually has, ADHD, right? Yeah, he actually has ADHD, so I can't really put too much stress on like Che behaving properly the entire period. But he's been pretty good. He has been making less like shouting stuff out. So
yeah, I agree.
He's been averaging a 3 on his behavior plan, which is good because he used to average like 2.
Do you think his behavior plan has been working, his DBR?
I think for the most part it's been positive. I don't want to say it's been like extremely good, but it's been positive. For Carlos though, it has been excellent. He's been averaging full points like the past 2 weeks.
So 8 out of 8.
Yeah, 8 out of 8 every day.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so Carlos has been on it, and so it's really good. And then Fredo's Fredo. I don't know if he'll ever change. Like, to be honest.
Well, I mean, he was working for the majority of the time yesterday, right? And at the time when he wasn't working, he was actually eavesdropping on a conversation that he had with Jeff, and then he was curious.
Yeah.
He seems to be easily distracted, but I think that, he was just being silly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
I don't think he was actually, like, disruptive.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. What do you think has contributed to Carlos Jimenez's, like, huge success lately?
I have no idea. Well, one, the class points just has been really good for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just constant reminders, like whisper, only talk to the people next to you, not in front of you, not in the back, has been pretty good. And I don't know, Carlos is in the zone right now too.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's take a look at the observation notes together. I printed them out for you. If you want to take a minute to look through them, make notes if you want.
Wow, this is the highest I've ever seen on task. It used to be like 50% average. Oh.
Yeah, I'm really happy. Well, this has definitely been a huge increase, and I think it has been significant growth, and I think it's definitely should be one of the evidence artifacts that you submit whenever you have your scheduled evaluation conference for the spring with Mr. Nee. Clearly, I mean, obviously I'll still be coming around for like observations, but I think this artifact speaks to your growth in that domain. Yeah. Can you guess which student was like not on point during moments of the class when I was in there? Because at any point there was only one student who was actually like not working.
I want to say Che.
He was one.
Yeah. Alvaro.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Dante.
He was actually working the entire 20 minutes I was there.
Sometimes he gets really fatigued from all
I can
the work.
see that.
And so
there were only 3 students. From 9:05 to 9:06. That was Che.
Okay.
And then actually from 9:17 to like 9:20, that was Alvaro.
Okay.
Yeah. It switched between Alvaro and Fredo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. When Fredo was eavesdropping between the conversation you and Jeff, that was him. And then there were moments that Alvaro was like unsure what to do. But yeah, what was going on with the check-in with Alvaro at the beginning? I couldn't hear parts of the conversation. I heard parts of it, and I wasn't sure.
Oh, he was doing his history homework in my classroom.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's what I figured. I made an assumption. I just wanted to make sure.
And he was just like lying to my face, basically. Because like I know like Miss Marston wouldn't give him something during advisory and demand it to be like due like the period that he has Marston. That just doesn't make sense to me. And I know she's not that type of person to expect someone to do work in other person's class. So obviously he was lying, but he kept pushing for it, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
Don't. Kids are so unreasonable. Oh my gosh.
Well, looking through these observation notes, what other things do you notice?
I think students. Well, some students are not afraid of asking for help. Especially Fredo, he asks a lot of questions. yeah, just students are working.
And we talked about this earlier before. I think part of the reason that you alluded to the fact that like there's been growth in student working was your implementation of class points, the daily behavior reports for Che and Carlos. And I think there is something else that you didn't mention that I thought has been a huge contributor, is that you're doing a lot more like redirects. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you checked in with Alvaro. You were circulating around the room. For some students, I think you like tapped their desk if they weren't working or they were on something else. And I think that's definitely like a factor into the productivity of your class. And thinking about like the 97% on task for your students, how are you thinking of like sustaining that momentum?
I think just making this a habit, like for the class, so that they know what to do exactly every day. They know that they're taking notes every day, even though obviously they stupidly ask, "Mr. Park, what are you doing today?" Like as a joke, obviously.
Yeah, even though they know.
They know, yeah.
Right.
And then, and then after that is always Alex. And if they're caught up on Alex, I let them work on other homework. Only if they're caught up though. Like not just the 4 topics a day that Ms. Stevens assigns, but like the progress pie goal that she assigns.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if they're at that, then yeah, sure, you can work on something else. But other than that,
how are you tracking the students' progress? Whether they've like made progression on the pie progress for Ms. Stevens' class?
Well, they have the percentage after they finish a topic, and then I tell them like, show me the percentage, and then if it doesn't match, then you have to keep working.
Yeah. And that has been working? Yeah,
but I mean, behavior-wise, it's been improving, but I think the problem right now is even the students are like doing Alex and they're like getting notes, it's not showing on quizzes.
It's not translating into the quiz scores.
Because I gave them this quiz. You can look at it. It's not a hard quiz at all. They average of 44%.
Okay.
So the first part is checking if it's a solution or not. And then the second part is tables, and the third part is graphing.
Okay, so as a whole, period 6.
Yeah.
And period 1?
No, I didn't do period 1 yet.
Okay.
Because they're taking it today.
So you've already graded them, and the average right now is 44%. Do you have an idea of which questions they had the most challenge with?
It's all over the place. It's all over the place.
It's all over the place. It might be helpful to do that, so then we can figure out which questions exactly that they're having difficulty with.
Well, almost everyone got 1 and 2, right?
Good. Okay. So we know it's not 1 and 2.
Yeah. But everything else, most people did wrong.
Okay.
Like literally everything else.
And so knowing that students aren't mastering the concepts, even if they're doing it with Alex, what does that tell you? What do you plan to do with the data?
Well, I mean, if they're not learning stuff by doing Alex, they're just doing the problem for the sake of doing the problem, which was the problem we had with Khan, and which was something we wanted to address with Alex, but it's not actually addressing the problem. I mean, yes, students are doing more work, but if that work isn't effective work, it's
leading to overall mastery.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I think that still remains the problem. And so that's why I wanted to pair that with notes, so that they have something to look at.
You have a notebook system now.
Yeah, but they don't look at the notes. And I tell them, like, I mean, there's no point in taking notes if you don't review them. And also, there's a quiz every Friday. So that gives you a clue that maybe you should look at and review your notes every Thursday night. Or even, I mean, best habit is obviously to look at it each day.
Yeah.
But like at least Thursday night and like Friday morning before you come to school, you should look at those things, make sure you understand before you take the quiz, right? Yeah, even my geometry kids are having problems.
Yeah,
With
I mean, I
basic
imagine.
algebra.
I mean, Alex, I feel like is a tool to like use for which students can learn, and I think there are moments like we will need to like supplement because the translation of it into like the actual assessments isn't not as perfect as we would want it to be, right?
And I think it only works, and I think why Peter's so on board is because he has all the higher track students.
That could be one factor, yeah.
And I'm realizing it does work with higher track students because I mean they
have the skills to be self-directed learners.
Yeah, but it's almost impossible with lower track students. Like I know Peter doesn't like the drill and kill, but I think drill and kill is necessary for lower track students because they need all the practice they can get. But we're not getting that through Alex per se. I mean, yes, they're messing up on the knowledge check, which means they have to go back and do it over. But again, like the whole cycle is like 3 problems.
Yeah.
And that's it. Whereas like the drill and kill is like you do like 25 problems a day, like for homework.
And then that
like
increases
actually
the sense
leads
of familiarity.
because I mean, even if they're like doing it for the sake of doing it, like because they're doing so many, it sticks in your brain, right? And like right now, we don't have that, and I think it's starting to become a problem, or it was a problem, and it still remains a problem.
It still remains a problem. Like we haven't addressed the key issue
with lower track students.
Right, exactly. Okay, so I'm hearing a lot of different things. One, it looks like we want to move forward into ensuring that like what they're learning also manifests itself on the assessments, right? And that in our classes right now, the students don't necessarily have the skills yet to be self-directed learners. So I'm thinking, one, we can brainstorm solutions for like leveraging the notebook checks. That's one option. The other option is that based on these quiz scores, like we could choose like 2 problems that most kids did not so well on, and then plan a lesson for Monday that addresses the 2 problems, and they can do a ton of practice, as you were saying, like drill and kill, and then have those 2 questions into the quiz for next Friday to see if there's any growth. If students like actually did better, if they did like drill and kill on Monday on those 2. Which do you want to try?
It's hard to say because like I don't exactly know what's going on in Algebra B, like in that classroom.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for me to plan something when I'm supposed to be the support class for that class if like I don't exactly know the structure of how Keisha or you like do things in the classroom.
Well, right now I can tell you in our classrooms we're focusing on like taking good notes.
So are students taking good notes on Alex or
on Alex? And so we're not necessarily doing a ton of practice aside from like the class worksheets that are provided from Alex. But as you said, the ones from Alex are mostly like a variety of problems. It doesn't address like one topic, and it's just like 10 problems on that one topic, right? And so maybe an opportunity is in math fundamentals, like take 1 or 2 topics and then just do like a ton of practice on that. So that's why your method may work or may not work, but we won't know unless we like gather data.
How effective has students been taking notes on Alex been?
Pretty good, I would say. I mean, I don't require them to take notes on every single topic. I do a minimum of 3. And then I count that as an avoidance of NC.
But are students like actually learning from those notes, or are they just doing it for compliance?
Right now, I think they're doing it for compliance.
So how do we get from students like complying to just simply take down notes as an assignment to students effectively taking notes for the sake of their learning?
That is definitely
because I think that's where all 3 of us are at.
Yeah.
Because we wanted this like focus on like the notes aspect because we understand that it's important and
Right.
necessary.
We understand that note taking is
And so that's why I started giving them my own versions of notes instead of Alex because on an intellectual level, the Alex explanations are fantastic, but for our students, it's not very effective because students don't understand what they're saying. And so that's what I've been realizing with the students, not only in math fundamentals, but especially in students at geometry, is that they don't understand the Alex explanations because a lot of our students don't have high reading comprehension levels. Like,
to understand what they're
even
reading.
Though they are reclassified and so they're technically fluent and proficient, in terms of like the way that Alex explained things uses a lot of like academic vocabulary, and I know that they have a dictionary and everything, but then the dictionary page is super long and it also involves a lot of academic vocabulary. Like,
and they're just copying down the definition, just to copy down the definition, not necessarily to understand.
I mean, I make them not copy word for word simply because I want them to synthesize the information and write in their own words, but they're having a hard time doing that because they don't understand what they're saying. Right. And so that's why I asked, like, how are you doing the notes with Alex? Because I know that Alex explanations are a little higher.
Might be like in the higher reading level.
Yeah, versus like where our students are in terms of reading level. Because like a lot of our students are not at grade level, even though they passed out of EL, right?
So do you want to focus on the note taking aspect of it then?
I'm still unsure because I mean, I'm trying to remedy the note solution thing because I'm the one giving them notes into words that they can understand, and then I always match like my steps to my instructions to the steps I'm doing, and so I feel like in terms of notes, I'm simplifying it as it could possibly be. So I think in terms of that is okay, but it's like, even so, students are only doing it to comply, it feels like. The students don't use their notes for the sake of like learning and practice. And I think that's where the problem lies. It's like, even if we synthesize the information for them, even if we give them an easier and understandable like version of what they're doing, it's like, unless if they actually use it for the sake of learning and for the sake of whatever, like it's not gonna be effective.
So, I mean, what are some ways that we can like explore this whole note-taking thing and make notes more of a benefit for students to actually use so that it translates to their learning? Like, my thinking is that students aren't going to use notes or refer back to their notes if they don't think like it's helpful for them, right? Or like, so there should be like a routine. So like, I'm thinking like, for example, we don't know like how effective notes are until like we measure it somehow, right? So right now they're taking notes but aren't necessarily referring back to them. They're not studying it, and like that may or may not contribute to a 40% average. So what if for the next quiz, like let's just see how it goes, they are able to use their notes
on the quiz
and see that makes an impact. And then on the next quiz, maybe they can only use their notes for 10 minutes, but then after 10 minutes, they cannot use notes, and see if there's an impact. And then for the next quiz, they can refer to their notes 10 minutes before the quiz, like study for 10 minutes, but they cannot use their notes on the quiz. So like that way we can see like if there's actual like difference in like using notes, studying notes, or not, you know? Does that make sense? Do you want to try that? Because otherwise we won't see if there's an impact.
That sounds doable.
Yeah. That actually might work even for, I don't know, I'm hesitant to use it because I do mastery-based grading, and if they use notes, then it's like technically not mastery, you know? But I think like it'd be a cool project to see.
Simply just to have data, like if notes
are effective or not.
And then we can tell the students,
yes.
You see, notes are super important.
Yeah. What if they're able to use their notes and they all get really good grades, you know? Well, I don't know. But.
Because I mean, like in college, for any midterm, for any final, you're allowed to have a cheat sheet for any math class. simply because there's a lot.
That's true. I do remember taking.
For any engineering class,
Yeah.
any physics class,
Yeah.
any math class, any econ class, you're allowed to have a cheat sheet. And I mean, there's a reason why, like, because they don't want you to focus on like memorizing. They want you to understand how to apply and use.
Yeah.
And so.
Well, let's try it out.
Yeah.
What if they can use your notebook, your notebook, and if they don't take any notes? Well,
no, all of them take notes.
Okay, that's good.
Because I do notebook checks.
I was gonna say, if they don't take notes, then they're not gonna do well because they can't have any notes to reference to. So do you want to try that for next Friday for the quiz?
Yeah, they can use their notes.
They can use their notes. Let's compare. I mean, we already know they got 44% average for period 6. Yeah.
But because next week is different stuff, so how do I measure?
Yeah, that's the tricky part. But
because next week, let me see what Keisha's doing. Because I'm basing it off what Keisha's doing. Which I'm pretty sure that's what you're doing too.
Yep, we have the same.
So today you guys are doing x and y intercepts, and then I can graph by using the x and y intercepts. So obviously that I'm doing that next week since Friday's quiz day for me, so I can't teach on Friday. And then
it's not super different from.
What?
It's not super different. I would say like it's.
Well, this was based on this past week. All the stuff that we went over, all the stuff you guys went over, right? It's well, besides I can read a point and a coordinate plane because that's they already know how to do that.
Yep.
It's like I can interpret a table for linear equations. So that was question number 4, and then I can write a function rule given a table of ordered pairs. So that's question 4, and then I can identify solutions to linear equation with 2 variables. That's question 1 and 2, and then I can find a solution to linear equation. I can graph a linear equation on the line y equals mx. I skipped over that because we already went over y equals mx plus b. So that's question number 7.
This is standard form.
Yeah, and then that was.
Yeah, you did vertical and horizontal lines.
Yes.
Which was
yesterday, right? I can graph a line in slope-intercept form. I can graph a line given its standard form, so that was that one. And then I can graph vertical or horizontal line, which is these 2. So I went over all the standards that we were supposed to go over in the past week and created a question quiz.
I think that's very aligned to what we're doing.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was shocked that I saw such a low average. Is because I know this is what they're working on in Alex, exactly, and I know this is what you're going over in class, and this is what we took notes on, so why is there such a big gap?
Yeah. Well, I think we're just focused on whether notes are effective. Whether they took notes from Alex in our classroom, or whether they took, your supplement of notes for Alex, right? And we'll base it on that, dependent on, like, the learning topics that we're going over. I don't think we can control for every factor.
No, of course not.
Yeah. But we can start with that. We'll just see if there's a difference. Yeah. Okay. Does that sound good with you?
Yeah, because I think whatever data we get from this will be beneficial for both my class and your class.
Yep, exactly. And if we see like there's a huge improvement, then maybe it is we should focus on the efficacy of notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm excited for this inquiry project to see if there's any difference.
Yeah.
And maybe like that tells us maybe there should be like less of an emphasis on the formulas, right? And more of an emphasis, do you understand what you're doing? How do you apply these notes? Similar to how they do it in college.
Yeah. That's why I don't want to teach lower track kids. Making me more and more realize that I don't want to teach lower track kids. But more and more I realize like
they need support.
Why isn't Peter teaching lower track kids? I don't understand. Like all the students like Peter as a teacher. Like they love Peter. And like it's common practice that in a school the best teachers teach the lower track kids.
I agree.